Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. Keek on the mic, Keek on the mic. People, this the intro.
Talk bad about my team, you must be a clown. This is Keek on the mic, so you know you better bear down. Bear down.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Like always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you also follow me on all my social media platforms to stay connected with all Keek on the Mic news. So Bears fans, I wanted to come on here today and talk a little bit more about the Chicago Bears OTAs. Obviously, when we're talking about OTAs, these are voluntary for the Chicago Bears. So that means players can choose whether or not they want to come or not. Now I know that in the last podcast when I talked about OTAs a little bit, we talked about some absentees for some of the Chicago Bears players, and one of the big names that came up was cornerback Jaylon Johnson. And obviously, Jaylon Johnson was one of the many people missing. Obviously, Nate Davis hasn't shown up yet. And obviously, when you look at Jaylon Johnson, it was starting to become a concern because the Bears are now in their second phase of OTA voluntary practices, and Jaylon Johnson has yet to show up. So that caused a lot of concern amongst Bears fans, and rightfully so, because obviously this is Jaylon Johnson's contract year. So this is a big year for Jaylon Johnson. So Bears fans were getting a little bit concerned about the fact that maybe Jaylon Johnson is holding out. Maybe it's about the money. Where in the world is Jaylon Johnson? So I wanted to come on here and just ease your nerves a little bit, because Jaylon Johnson will in fact show up to the final phase of Chicago Bears voluntary OTAs. And while on Keyshawn, J. Will on Mac show on ESPN, Keyshawn asked Jaylon Johnson straight up in an interview saying, hey, where have you been in Chicago Bears OTAs? Is it about the money? Are you planning on holding out? And this is what Jaylon Johnson had to say on their little podcast. Check this out, Bears fans.
This is entering your fourth year in the National Football League, Jaylon, and second year in this defense, but yet and still you haven't gone to OTAs yet, so to speak. When you anticipate joining the team?
I'm gonna be there for sure next week. I know I had a lot of things off the field going on. I have my daughter back home in Fresno, California, where I'm from and where she resides at, that I don't get too much time during the season to get with her. So I mean, for me, the off season is a lot of time for her to make that up for family, and I'm a big family guy for sure. Being a young dad, just trying to be present in my daughter's life. So I take a lot of pride in that. And then also I have a lot of things going on off the field. I know last year I was the Walter Payton Man of the Year nominee for the Bears, and I continue that. I continue to live that. That's who I am, and I have a lot of things and events that I'm doing currently in my community back here in Fresno, and just being a part of the church, donating, just being a part, just trying to create different opportunities and different fundraisers for my nonprofits and different things like that. So, I mean, I have a lot of business to tend to in my hometown in Fresno.
So Bears fans, all in all, with all those obligations complete for Jaylon Johnson, he does plan to return for the final phase of OTAs next week, which is a really good sign because, like I just mentioned earlier in this episode of Keek on the Mic, for a lot of Bears fans, even including myself, I thought it had a lot to do with the money. I thought he wanted to be extended right now. Maybe he's just not seeing eye to eye with the Chicago Bears, but it wasn't that at all. He just wanted to spend time with his daughter, which I totally understand. I'm a dad to a little girl myself, so I totally understand that. He mentioned that he was doing some other community service work as well, just trying to get other obligations out of the way before the season comes up, right? And I totally get that, and I think he shouldn't be criticized for wanting to spend more time with his daughter. And don't get me wrong, before I found out this information, I was a little bit concerned because I do understand that one, he is a leader of this team. So by him being absent, it definitely shows up, right? You're like, okay, where is Jaylon Johnson? He wants to get paid the big bucks, right? It's a big year for Jaylon Johnson. He's in his final year of his contract. He's supposed to be the leader of this defense, but now he has missed 2 weeks of OTA practices. And even though they are voluntary to players, it's really important for guys like Jaylon Johnson, leaders of the football team, especially on the defense side of the ball where there's a lot of new faces. It's really important for guys like Jaylon Johnson to show up, even if it's voluntary for the Chicago Bears. But I'm glad that he set the record straight. And I can't sit here and hate on a guy for wanting to spend time with his young daughter or want to do some community service work, just wanting to take care of his obligations before the season comes up, because I think we all should understand we're just normal people. these guys get super busy once the season comes up. So I understand that he doesn't see his daughter a lot during the season, which is terrible. And like I said, as a father, I can definitely reason with him on that. And obviously, he's wanting to take care of some other obligations as well. So I definitely don't think we should criticize Jaylon Johnson for missing the first 2 weeks of OTAs. But I think it is good news that it has nothing to do with money. I know that Jaylon Johnson is going to want to be extended at some point, but I think he understands that he has to come and prove why he should be extended, why Ryan Poles should want to keep him a part of the Chicago Bears. The only reason why I wanted to come on here today and bring Jaylon Johnson up, because Jaylon Johnson is a big piece to our defense. And I think if he is able to have a big year, that is huge for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears. Even though Ryan Poles and the Bears did draft Tyreek Stevenson, I think the whole point, the whole vision here for Ryan Poles and the Chicago Bears is to have Jaylon Johnson on one side and Tyreek Stevenson on another, and have two really good corners and possibly even three good corners if Kyler Gordon can take the next step in year 2 as well. So that's why when Jaylon Johnson wasn't showing up to OTAs, it was concerning for Chicago Bears fans. But at the end of the day, Matt Eberflus was never concerned. And it sounds like obviously Jaylon Johnson was never concerned as well. It was not about the money, and he does plan to come to the final week of OTA practices. So that is very good news for the Chicago Bears. So like I said, I just wanted to come on here real quick and give you that quick little update of OTAs and a quick little update on the status of Jaylon Johnson, but it's all good news in regards to the Chicago Bears. But before I let you guys go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you follow me on all my social media platforms, and make sure you share this episode of Geek on the Mic with every single Bears fan that you know. But other than that, back for all new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys, and bear down.
You've been listening to Geek on the Mic, a podcast all about the Chicago Bears. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Thanks, guys, and bear down.